This is TWIS. This Week in Science, episode number 608, recorded on Wednesday, March 1st, 2017. March Madness is here! Hey everyone, I am Dr. Kiki, and tonight on This Week in Science, we're going to fill your heads with a crown of thorns, buzzing bees, and mammal madness. But first...
Disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer. I'm here tonight to tell you what we're doing. I'm here tonight to tell you why we're here. I'm here tonight to tell you how it all works. And I'm here tonight to tell you that we are in this together. Because when we show each other compassion, when we teach each other how to see things from another perspective, when we learn how to reason and examine evidence, we are able to work together as a community. So yes, we are here tonight to discuss science news. And we are also here to have fun and teach. But most of all, we're here to remind you that none of us is alone, because we will fight for what's right. We will persevere, and we will preserve what needs saving, and we will continue to learn and discover and explore. We are humans. We are glorious, thinking, feeling balls of cells, and we will get through this world together. So let's learn what is new on that world we call home on This Week in Science, coming up next.
I've got the kind of mind I can't get enough. I wanna learn everything. I wanna fill it all up with new discoveries that happen every day of the week. There's only one place to go to find the knowledge I seek. I wanna know what's happening. What's happening? What's happening this week in science? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening this week in science?
Good science, everyone. Welcome to another episode of This Week in Science. And we are here to bring you, so many of the very cool science stories that we encountered this past week, to talk about them and to, maybe figure out a little bit more than what is in the typical press release or the typical science story that you might read online. We also have a wonderful interview today, so I hope you are all ready to buckle up and sit tight for tonight's episode. I've got tons of science news. I brought stories about Wolbachia, my favorite bacteria. We love Wolbachiums. And I've also got stories about neurons, because you know how much I like the brain. We've got consciousness, possibly consciousness neurons. Be amazing. And then our interview tonight is with Dr. Katie Hinde, and we're going to be talking about March Mammal Madness. Don't know what that is? Well, you will find out very soon. Blair, what's in the animal corner?
I brought a buzzing story about bees. I brought another buzzing story about bees. Oh, and I also see a story about bees, perhaps that buzz.
Buzz, 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 buzz. All right, well, I'm glad you're getting buzzy for this episode. It's all good. You ready? I've got some science.
Let's do it.
We have an interview. Let's get into this. I would love to introduce our guest tonight, Dr. Katie Hinde. She is an associate professor at Arizona State University in the Biodesign Center for Fundamental and Applied Microbiomics, and also in the School of Human Evolution and Social Change. She has a Bachelor of Arts in Anthropology from the University of Washington and a PhD in Anthropology from UCLA. She also did some work at my alma mater, UC Davis, at the California National Primate Research Center, and served as an assistant professor in human evolutionary biology at Harvard University. Her area of study is mammal milk, so lactation and milk production. And a quote in a story that was written about her is that she sees milk as personalized medicine and a carrier of information that affects immunity, brain function, and metabolism in lasting ways. One of the things she also does is that she has created March Mammal Madness. Katie, thank you for joining the show tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a real pleasure to be here on This Week in Science.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I'm so, I saw a tweet. We'll explain the background of how we got you here tonight. I saw you tweet something about the brackets being released for March Mammal Madness. And I went, wait, what is going on here? I know March Madness, and I know that people get their basketball team brackets together, or during football season, people are getting their fantasy football teams together. And this was different. And I just thought I started digging in, and I thought it was so exciting. And so I reached out to see if you would be interested in explaining March Mammal Madness to our audience.
I'm delighted to. This has been just a real labor of love for the last 5 years. So we're celebrating our 5th anniversary. The tournament launched in 2013. And what I do with a group of 30 other scientists and artists is we spend the month of March working through a bracket, just like you do in NCAA basketball March Madness, where you have one-to-one competitions in single elimination tournament as you work your way to the elite trait and the final roar to find out who is the champion of this year's mammals.
That's so fantastic. Okay, so 5 years ago you started, and how has it changed over the course of the 5 years? I mean, is it still you pick your mammals and just kind of throw them in there, or what's the process?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what it started out really spontaneously on a Friday afternoon before departmental happy hour. And when I was an undergraduate at the University of Washington, my friends and I really got into basketball March Madness. And, all 10 of us would fill out our brackets. We'd skip classes for that first round when 64 teams went through a bloodbath down to 32. And it was so much fun. The trash talk, the energy, and the fun of it. And I thought, we can do this with animals. And it was actually, as you know, in March, there's brackets for everything. So It's Friday afternoon, and I was on social media, and I saw a bracket of animals, and I printed it out, and I thought, oh, my lab can do this. It'll be really fun. I gave everybody one in the lab, and we started filling them out, and I was like, what? It was 16 species, not 64. And it was based on who was cutest. And it was and we voted. And I was like, there's no science in this, right? What about this animal, this animal, this animal, this animal, this? And so I took the brackets back from my whole lab. And I said,
nope, never mind, we need to start over.
Give me an hour. And I grabbed down McDonald's Encyclopedia of Mammals, that huge tome, and I just went through and I made my own bracket. And that first year, it was really a lot of ones that you see really regularly on nature specials or in the zoo. We had a division of carnivores, a division of primates, because I'm a primatologist and I have a soft spot for them. A division of browsers and grazers, a lot of ungulates, and then hodgepodge, which were other species that didn't really fit into a division. And I gave it to my lab and I tossed it up on my blog, and I thought, oh, maybe my mom will play. And what ended up happening is a whole bunch of people that were scientists on Twitter print out their bracket, and they started taking pictures, and they were like, tiger all the way, honey badger's got this, no, it's wolverine, elephant, hippo, rhino. People were really into it. And I was like, oh, okay, let's do this. And what it was spontaneously created where I would live tweet out an imaginary battle based on science and adaptations of these animals. What was their weaponry? What was their armor? What was their fight style? What was their temperament? Were they inclined toward fighting, or were they the kind that would run and hide, or what have you? And we'd vary the environment, and people got into it. And it was a little overwhelming, but it was so much fun. And after the end of that year, everybody's like, all right, see you March 2014. And I was like, all right, if we're gonna do this for real, we need to really do it. And I recruited three people. Two had been the biggest, most active fans the entire tournament. And then one had been my friend Chris, who'd actually helped me out that first year, because I was actually tweeting some of the battles from the Kalahari in South Africa while I was running around with meerkats for spring break. And I'd stay up until the middle of the night, and I'd live tweet stuff in the middle of the night, and he'd be like, okay, here's some information. So I asked them if they'd join us. And so since then, we have really structured, each battle lasts about 25 tweets We have systematic information about their conservation status, their phylogeny, their genetics, their behavior, their reproduction. Everything has multiple citations. And after that second year, people got really excited. And in the third year, a group of tattoo artists that had followed as players in the second year were like, can we start doing art of the animals?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So then we had artists. By the year 4, last year, we had the American Society of Mammalogists that partnered with us, the Cleveland Museum of Natural History. All these people started coming and providing pictures or pictures of collections, pictures of the animals, continued to do the art. And this year, the 5th anniversary, we have new partnerships with Oxford University Press, who's made a number of scholarly articles freely available to students that want to do research. The ASU Libraries has stepped up and made a huge K through 12 resource guide. And that we're also joined by the Aldo Leopold Foundation, which is a group that's really interested in land stewardship and conservation and human community nature connections. And so now we have a team of 35 people that gear up most of February for background work. And then we release it in March, and it's blown up.
That is, so how many people do you have this year who have expressed interest kind of ahead of time?
Well, so far, yeah, the last time I checked, the blog had about 35,000 page views since it went live a couple weeks ago. And we also, for the first time, reached out. I'd gotten because of the pictures that you see on Twitter and how people talk about it, I'd started to suspect that a lot of teachers were using it in their classroom. And so I opened it up and I said, teachers, educators, if you would like early access to the bracket for lesson planning, just send me an email and I'll send it to you a week ahead of time. And we had 250 educators request the bracket.
That's great.
Oh, yeah. All across the country. Kiki, are you there?
I am here. I'm just bringing up the bracket so that
fantastic.
people who are watching the video can take a look at what we're talking about.
Yeah, so we had educators from all regions of the United States and internationally contact us for the bracket. And most of them are middle school and high school. A lot of high school teachers that use it in their classrooms. And depending on whether or not you want to, estimate that they have, fewer students, like only 30 per teacher, or a lot of them are talking about how they work with 150 students with this. We're estimating somewhere between 10,000 and 20,000 students are playing this through their classrooms in the United States in March 2017.
That's it. That is exciting. I mean, that is really reaching a lot of students. And I'm looking at your bracket right now, and we were talking a little bit about some of the animals in the list before the show starts. And we've got animals in here that are, in this particular year, you've got endangered animals, you've got not very well-known animals mixed in with animals that people might actually recognize. And so you're really going to be opening up the awareness of students and whoever takes part in this of, who are these animals? Where do they live? What do they do? How dangerous are they?
Yeah. And I'll have parents email me. And they'll say, we went to the zoo and their kids will remember the animals that battled that year and they'll talk about them. Last year we had an ongoing joke. Our villain, because there's always a villain. Our villain from 2016 was the panda bear, which is counterintuitive, right? Because they're so cute and people love them so much. And so what we pointed out to them is that it's simultaneously the worst bear and the worst herbivore, because it isn't able to very easily digest the bamboo it eats, right? It has the gut of a carnivore and the diet of a herbivore, and it has to eat all day long because its actual energy acquisition from what it eats is so low. And so we made lots of jokes, and what they eat, they don't really do much else. And so the panda kept advancing by default, and people were getting just furious at it. And so our joke was, we started the hashtag worst bear. And
oh my God.
How did I miss this?
How did you miss? You have, Katie, if you haven't, the panda is one of the animals that Blair brings up very often in the animal corner.
As being the worst at being any animal, let alone
yes,
a there.
The most maladapted animal.
Exactly. You know, we
It
talk
shouldn't
about
exist. It's the only animal that should be extinct, except we saved them.
Right. We made Ian Malcolm jokes. You know, this isn't a condor, right? Nature selected them for extinction, and you know, they're tiny babies. How often their babies die? How bad they are at mating? I mean, just over right. And so I had a parent message me in May last year. You know, 2 months after the tournament ended, and they're like, you know, one side effect of playing March Madness is you get really weird looks at the zoo when your 6-year-old goes running up to the panda bear exhibit yelling out, "Worst bear! Worst bear!"
They're like, see that child out.
What are you teaching the children?
About digestion and adaptation, and it's just been really, really rewarding, and especially, you know, one of the funniest things that happened this year, you know, we haven't even started the tournament yet, but you know, the educators signed up and they asked for the brackets and I sent them out, and one of the educators emailed me and said, you know, you've changed the bracket design. Are you going to release the retro old school bracket? I really like that one. And I said, well, I don't really have time to make it, but I'll send you the editable one and you can update it. And please send it back so I can put it on the blog for anybody else who also appreciates the really janky equivalent of Comic Sans one that I made, you know, from the beginning. And so Sam emailed it back, and then I didn't hear much. And a day later, I got a message. And I want to read it because I have to do it justice because it was so incredible. It said, I have a confession to make. I am not a teacher, but merely an 8th grader who is too excited about the upcoming tournament to wait for the student release. I have been following the tournament since the start, and every year at this time, I find myself constantly refreshing your page, just hoping that the bracket would appear. I sincerely apologize for deceiving you.
Aww, that's very cute.
So sweet.
Oh, it was, you know, these are the heroes we need, right? A kid that's bending the rules so that they can get early access to a free animal learning tournament. It was one of the most endearing moments I've had during the tournament.
Yeah, he wanted a leg up. He's like, I'm trying to get some insight. I'm going to get my research on early.
Yeah. So you start with how many species on the bracket? So
the bracket has 64 slots.
Okay, so it's an old-fashioned 64. Got it.
At the start of the tournament, there's 63 that are assigned. And there's one wild card battle to get into the tournament.
Yeah, so we've got saber-toothed cat versus the wild card winner.
Right. Now, typically we have a one-on-one battle for that that we showcase. It being the 5th year and really wanting to dial the tournament up to 11, we decided to do a 4-species battle royale to get into the tournament.
All at the same time.
All at the same time. Rhesus macaque, fisher, snow leopard, and red giant flying squirrel.
Okay.
And
that's a toughie.
It is a toughie. And what we're finding, we don't, for most of the rounds, for the first 3 rounds, the environment of the battle, the better ranked team, the better ranked species gets to fight in their home ecology. They get home court advantage. After that, when you get to the elite trait, the final 4 in the championship, the environment is randomized among 4 preset environments. The wild card is wild. We don't tell anybody what the environment is. We just tell them the species, and then they have to guess. And I've had multiple people contact me to say what is the environment they're battling in, because they know how important the battle is for determining who's gonna have an advantage and who's gonna have a disadvantage. To make things even more exciting this year, myself and several other biologists made costumes of these animals, and we filmed a green screen simulated battle of what we have determined using science is going to be the likely outcome.
Okay. So does that mean you already know who the winner is?
Oh, yes. So the organizing team, we figure out the entire tournament before it gets released.
Oh, okay.
And we do that so that we aren't swayed by public opinion or what people are thinking. We really want to keep it as unbiased as possible.
And how often do you release results?
We have a schedule. So we have 3 nights a week. We will live tweet the battles for an entire division for the first round. So that's 4 nights, and then combined divisions as we get fewer and fewer species. It will last about 3.5 weeks to run the whole tournament. We play the games, we play the bouts, we live tweet the narration that the scientists have written, starting at 8:30 p.m. on the designated night of those battles. And then after the battles, we storify it and post the link on Facebook at the blog so that everybody can see exactly what happened and why.
All right. So they need to follow you on the on Twitter to be able to follow at the 8:30 p.m. once weekly the live tweeting.
Yeah, they should actually follow the hashtag. That's hashtag 2017MMM. And the other option they have is what you find is a night of battles, there's usually between 2,000 and 3,000 tweets. Only about 250 of them are the actual battle. The rest is all the spectator commentary as it's happening. And it can get a bit intense. And so what happened was 2 years ago, a high school junior spontaneously created an account where she just retweets the battle tweets, none of the trash talk. And so if you follow that account, it's called let me get the right exact thing. If there's families at home or teachers or students or people that just want the science, just want the battle, not all of the spectator conversation, then it's best to follow the account at 2017 MMM Let's Go. And so that student is now a freshman at Brown University, and she continues to maintain the account.
Oh, that's wonderful. So she's still helping out and helping with the tweeting. And her pinned tweet at the top of her Twitter page is that the 2017 #2017MMM bracket is live with a link to the bracket so that you can access it. So once again, her account is 2017MMM Let's Go. She's like a cheerleader.
Yep.
LETSGO, let's go, let's go.
So can I ask that graphic? So on the right, is that the quokka?
I believe it's the tiger qual.
Oh, that's the tiger qual. I always get quokkas and quals confused.
I don't even know what you guys are talking about. This is exciting.
They're marsupials, yeah.
Yeah.
And the quokka is herbivorous. It looks like a mini kangaroo, like a mini, smaller than a wallaby. It's one of the cutest animals on the planet.
Yes. So the quokka selfie was a big thing a little bit ago. And then the qual is that guy up there, right?
And the qual is a carnivore and but also a pouched marsupial. And yeah, the quokka was made its debut in Mammal March Madness in 2015 in the Mighty Mini Mammal division. So one of the things that we'd run into after the first 2 years is that the little guys tend to be one and done, right? Like they come up against something much bigger than them and they exit stage left really quickly. And so we created a division of just mini mammals in 2015 so that they could stick around the tournament for a long time.
Yeah.
And the dwarf mongoose defeated the fennec fox.
Those darn weasels, you can't trust them.
You cannot.
Nope.
And they battled a were-yeti in the final roar that year. So we had a
I've never
yeti.
even heard of that.
That's a make-believe.
Yeah, but that's like a combo of two make-believe things.
Right, because our yeti battled Rougarou, which is a French Cajun werewolf. And
what? This is sounding less like science right now.
Oh, thank you for that wonderful opening. I love that. We included a division of mythical mammals because we wanted to teach 2 scientific principles. One was about the fact that most of the mythical mammals are actually, you can recognize the animal that they represent, right? So you have mythical stories about these giant hyenas or giant cats or water horses in rivers and lakes, or Kulu Kulo, which is a South American myth about a dangerous rat that sucks away your life and your breath. And these are animals that represent danger or risk or usefulness to the people that are creating myths about them. And so they reflect real animals in the world, and they share many features with them. But the fact that humans can engage in such complex, abstract thought to create mythical creatures, that we tell each other about them, that some people believe these things, this tells us about social learning. This tells us about credulity. This tells us about the cognitive architecture of humans as a species. And so mythical mammals actually give us an opportunity to talk about really important adaptations in the human mind.
Oh my gosh, you're amazing. I love the anthropologist perspective on the mythical mammals. That's so fun. Yeah. We sometimes talk about cryptozoology, or kind of the same idea, making things up. But in this year's bracket, you don't have as many of the made up animals, but you've got these two animals of one mammal.
Right.
That's one category.
Yes. So these are species that they're obviously one species, but their common name has two animals in it. So, there was a big debate with raccoon dog. Right? I don't know if you've ever seen a picture of a raccoon dog. I mean, this thing is ridiculously adorable. And there was discussion, do we call it, so raccoons, the other name for raccoons, of course, is trash panda, because they have this, they have that mask like a panda, but they, go through your garbage. So some people were calling them trash panda. I'll let you this picture come up because it's just so incredible. Some people were calling them trash panda, but the other option was raccoon corgi.
Oh, I could see that.
Right?
Yeah, they're kind of that log shape, like a corgi with the short legs, long body.
Are so weird.
Yeah, and so this gives us a chance to kind of talk about, like, how do we give animals common names? Why, what are the attributes that cause people to attach one species to another species for its name, and also introduce people to a lot of animals that they may never have heard of.
Yeah. And I saw the hog deer on there. Is that the deer that has the fangs?
No, I think that's the muntjac.
Muntjacs? I'm gonna have to look.
Deer is kind of cute. It's just like a little deer.
Yeah, it's got that flat, wet nose. Muntjacs have. I thought the muntjacs did. Mouse deer have the canines, and then there's another one that also is in Asia.
Water deer is what I was thinking.
Water deer, right? Yes, good one. Water buck, yeah. So, but yeah.
Neat.
So, yeah, we have new divisions every year, and it allows the game to always stay fresh and interesting, and people are really excited, right? Like, we've slowly rolled out and revealed some animals playing like 20 question games on Twitter. Dozens of people play. We ask people the day before the bracket release, what species are you hoping to see? And you basically, it creates this really dynamic community that people are talking about the animals. And so you end up hearing about a lot more than the 67 that are on the bracket. You hear about what they eat. You hear about what eats them. You hear about related species. You hear about the species people wish had been in the bracket. People talk about species from past years. And it ends up that you end up talking about hundreds and hundreds of species over the course of the tournament.
So one other question. I heard that there was some controversy about there being a reptile in this Mammal Madness.
There's always controversy. Yeah, I didn't know if you were going to mention that one or our cat scandal, which have led people to write blog posts.
Oh.
Well, we would love to hear about both of them. Let's talk about the reptile first.
Yeah. So Gila monster. So it turns out that there's some really amazing pseudonymous animal accounts running around on Twitter, and they come and show up at our tournament. And so last year, Gila monster at ASU, it's an account, would show up and basically trash talk mammals the whole tournament. Just trash talk mammals. And this Natick bobcat showed up, this squirrel showed up, and they all just trash talk each other. And so last year we had a gold, silver, and bronze awards for hecklers of the year. And Gila Monster was forked tongue above all the others and won Heckler of the Year. So this year we recruited Gila Monster into the tournament to put we brought Gila Monster into the tournament to put her money where her mouth is, or her bite where her mouth is.
Right.
And so, people are really struggling because it's in an 8-9 matchup, the first round against Meerkat. And there's a lot of fans of Meerkats online too. So
I wonder
there's
if having the ability to get bit by cobras if you're a mongoose has anything to do with it.
Well, we're going to be looking at those protein peptides that underlie these different venoms to understand if the meerkat defenses are going to be able to be effective against what the Gila Monster is packing.
Very interesting.
So in your bracket, you've also ranked the individuals or the species 1 through 16 in each of the different categories. So
yes.
So we've got, meerkat versus Gila Monster, 9 versus 8. I mean, they are very similarly ranked.
Yep.
And then you have something that is so far ranked, the honey badger versus the southern marsupial mole. The honey badger has the rank of 1 because honey badger.
Yeah.
Right.
The poor southern marsupial mole.
Yes. Now, this is taken directly from Basketball March Madness, which is when the arbiters of Selection Sunday pick the teams, they give them their seedings 1 through 16, and what you find is that the higher ranked a team is, the easier its path is to the championship. So the best ranked teams have to go up against the worst ranked teams, and so that structure of 1 to 16, 2 to 15, 3 to 14, that derives directly from the basketball tournament that we're mimicking. But, I think it's kind of fair because near as we can estimate, the phrase March Madness is a derivative of mad as a March hare. And that's from European hares during their mating season, males boxing each other out in the field and bouncing up and punching and not eating enough and getting all scrappy with their hair and being all wackaloon. And so, March Madness as a concept derives from animal battles in the first place.
Oh my gosh. I have another question.
Full circle.
What is to stop an animal in a bout from just hiding and waiting?
Because that is a strategy maybe for some animals, right?
It's a great strategy. And we have to, it doesn't make riveting Twitter play-by-plays.
Yes. But if we're thinking about a little mole,
the first year, we had possum go up against armadillo. And so armadillo curled up and possum played dead and they just laid there. And across the night's battles, we kept kept checking in on what was happening, and nothing.
Nothing's happening.
and so that year we flipped a coin, right, to figure out who was going to win. Animals don't have to battle to the death. It's not always nature red in tooth and claw. It's more about who defends the battle landscape. And so running away or hiding count as forfeits in this tournament of simulated imagined animal battles. If we wanted to make a division about who runs away best, we could. But
so it's about territory. It's about defending territory.
It's about defending space and holding the high ground and really using that competitive battling as one of the main devices. However, you can have, two animals might encounter each other in a tree and be eating leaves or fruit or whatever, and one displaces the other, right? So one year we had, a giant giraffe, a fossil giraffe, browsing next to a giant ground sloth. And the ground sloth shifted a foot, and then the giraffe shifted a foot further. And so the ground sloth won because it caused the other one to shift away. Right?
I was wondering about some of those herbivores in there and how that was going to work. But that makes sense.
Yeah, and you find over the years we've had to date 2 carnivores win and 2 herbivores win. And so it doesn't seem as though there's any kind of systematic bias. Now, one thing that we did is that, a lot of species, their solution to their challenges is to get buddies. Right? So some species are shaped by natural selection to get big, some to get badass, but a lot it's to get buddies. And so in the past, we've had a social mammal division where they could work with their team. And that was the year that the hyena clan came out to win the championship.
Mm.
This year, we only have one team in the whole tournament, and it's a Neanderthal hunting party. And people keep asking me, how many Neanderthals are in a Neanderthal hunting party? And I said, do your own homework, go and look at the research.
Figure it out. Yeah, what do researchers think? Yeah.
What? So who's won so far? So you said hyenas won last year?
Year 1, 2013 it was African elephant. 2014 it was hyena clan. 2015 it was Sumatran rhino. And 2016, last year, it was tundra wolf.
And we will see over the next few weeks how this plays out. Oh, this is so exciting. All right, I hope everyone out there is going to be printing out their March Mammal Madness brackets, picking their animals and playing along. And, if you don't agree with the organizers on who should win, at least you're starting a debate about how these animals live and interact with other animals. Yep. So it's very exciting. So next week, we will see the winners of the wild card bout.
That's right. Who's going to go up against saber-toothed cat?
Who will go up against saber-toothed cat out of the rhesus macaque, the red giant flying squirrel, the snow leopard, and the fisher marten?
So as much as I would say the fisher marten, because I know what those teeth can do personally, I'm going to guess it's the macaque.
And there's a video that will be released of this battle.
Yep.
So next week, March
6th.
Next week, March 6th, 8:30 p.m. What time zone?
We're doing that one actually at 7 Eastern.
Oh, 7 Eastern.
That's
March
the only
6th.
one that's
Okay.
at 7 Eastern because I also work in the Center for Evolution and Medicine at Arizona State University, and we're having a tournament launch party, and so we want to do it at the end of the workday. So we're gonna start that one 7 Eastern, and then after that the tournament's at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. The nights that are listed on the blog.
All right, and the blog once again is Mammals Suck. .blogspot.com. And I love it. I mean, obviously a reference to lactation.
That's right.
Yes. So we've got mammalsuck.blogspot.com. And that is where you can find all the information you need, including the bracket to be able to print it out if you'd like to. Lots of FAQs, lots of history of what has happened in previous years, the old school brackets in case you are interested in that retro look, and art that some of the artists that you were. Who's the artist who's done the art this year?
So far, the art that's been produced is by our art director, Karen Henning. She's a scientific illustrator and a tattoo artist, and she's been amazing ever since 2015. She started out as a fan in 2014, and she joined the team as a resident artist. And she's been organizing different artists that do different parts of the collection. It's been amazing.
That's wonderful. So I hope this brings a few more people into the fun, and that we all. Yeah, I'm gonna follow along. I want to know who's gonna win this year. Is it gonna be a real mammal, an extinct mammal, a make-believe mammal, or a reptile?
Oh, the Gila monster's not going to win. There's no way.
Well, right now it's anybody's game. So thank you so much for having me on. And thanks to the whole, the thing about the blog post that's also great is it lists all the different people that make this happen every year. It's performance science and collective effort. And I'm merely the ringleader of this incredible science circus.
And it seems incredible. It looks like so much fun. Thank you so much for joining us. Once again, if people want to follow you online, what's your Twitter account?
At mammals_suck.
Oh my God. That's one of the best. It's so good.
Thank
So
you
good
so
in so
much.
many ways. Thank you so much for joining us, Katie. And
Thanks for having me on. It's been great.
you're welcome. And we will post links to your website and to your Twitter and to the Twitter compilation account on twis.org when we post the show.
Fantastic. Thanks. Thank you, guys.
Have a wonderful night. Thank you.
Thanks for
You
coming.
too.
Bye. Well, this has been super fun. Are you going to play, Blair?
Maybe. I'll have to talk to my friends and my coworkers at the zoo. We might need to play together.
Right. I think this seems like a San Francisco zoo activity for sure. And I'm hoping that we can get Justin in here and we'll explain it to him. And then I'm sure he'll get in on this a little bit with his kids.
Yeah.
All right, you guys out there in the chat room, I see you. I hope that you're already working on these brackets. I hope you're in there. I'm going to be watching you. I'll ask you next week. I'll be keeping tabs on my viewers and my listeners to see whether or not you're playing along. Right now, it is time for us to take a small break. We are going to be back after the break. Hopefully, Justin will join us, and we will be talking about more science. There's all sorts of science stories for us ahead, so stay tuned. There's more coming on This Week in Science.
Explain the things you heard with more than
All right, we are in our break. And Katie, if you would like to hang out, you can hang out longer, of course. Or if you are, if you're heading out for the evening.
I do have to go home and let my dog out, but thank you so much. All
right. So thank you again. So thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful night. All righty. Taking our break, moving on. 3, 2. Hey, everybody. I hope that you are enjoying the show so far. Do you enjoy us week after week after week? Why not sport some TWIS activewear? I don't know. Maybe not activewear, but, we have lots of things. Do you drink coffee or tea? Need something to put hot liquids in? Maybe a TWIS mug. There are all sorts of things. You need a place to put your mouse? Yeah, there are these wonderful things that we have in our Zazzle store that are loaded with the TWIS logo and with all sorts of wonderful art prepared by the lovely Blair, the creative Blair, like the TWIS lumbar pillow. You can have it with a bear hibernating, or maybe you want it with a banana slug or a mammoth. So many wonderful choices. And there's more than the lumbar pillows there. Let me tell you, you can have a tie or wrapping paper. There's all sorts of cool things. Also, we have wonderful TWIS trucker hats. Those are comfortable and they, keep the sun off your face. Especially something like that might be really useful around August 21st when the 2017 solar eclipse happens and you just have to be out in the sun looking up at the sky. Maybe a TWIS trucker hat would be the perfect thing to wear then. We do not have a TWIS lab coat yet. Sorry, Sidentity in the chat room. But maybe that's something we can work on. It's on the list of things we will work on for the future. But go browse our Zazzle store. Go to twis.org and click on the Zazzle store link to be able to browse our Zazzle store wares. Additionally, if you're not into stuff, then maybe you can just help us out, keep us going week after week, be a producer, and help make TWIS go. All productions need producer help, executive producers behind the scenes to help float the boat a little bit. So if you would like to be a producer for TWIS, go to TWIS.org and click on our Support TWIS Donate button. Really easy. It takes you through a PayPal interface that you can donate very quickly and easily, one time or many times. If you're into the whole donating many times thing, or even just once, you can join us on Patreon. Get there also through the Patreon link on the TWIS.org page. Patreon is our patron community where you can actually get little things in return for your support. So $3.14, haha, get that, 3.14 pi. We give you a nice circular TWIS patch. Ta-ta! That makes sense, doesn't it? For $10 or more, you can hang out with me or maybe Blair and Justin if they come at least once a month. We have a Google Hangout and get to hang out a little bit. It's pretty cool. Talk about whatever you want to talk about. It's a very fun thing. $15 more, you can get yourself a hand-drawn picture that Blair puts together for you. Really awesome stuff. Really, though, we do need your help keeping the lights on, keeping the internet going, and keeping, our equipment up to par so that we can keep the show going. And if you can help us out in any way, either click on our donate button or head on over to Patreon to support us in an ongoing fashion. If you are unable to help in the financial sense, that's okay. We need tons of help getting the word out about TWIS. So if you are able just to tell people about TWIS, use social media or even your local cafe, if you go out and talk to people, mention TWIS, maybe help them load it on their phone. Do your friends not even know what podcasts are or how to listen to podcasts? Maybe you can help them out and show them an app to download on their phone or where to access things on the web. Be a helper. Help us reach a larger audience. That would be wonderful. Help us grow. Help us be TWIS to more people. We really could not do this without you. Thank you for your support.
Bothering to stop and think. The only real power that I do believe is the dollars and cents all these authors receive. If miracle wonders were held in their looks, why waste precious time and try selling their books? Why sit and wait for your publishing royalty? If one has real power, who needs reader loyalty? If you could travel by thought to a mystical...
And we're back with more This Week in Science.
Yes, we are. Justin, so great to have you join us. You missed a fantastic interview.
I'll have to go back and watch it.
You will. Do you like March Madness, basketball, bracket kind of stuff?
Yeah, the super sport ball thing that happens.
Yeah.
I'm all for the teams.
That orange
playing.
ball with the stripes.
Well, if you're not into the sports ball, you can instead do it with science and with mammals. March Mammal Madness. It's amazing. You'll have to check it.
I've only done it with mammals.
Stop that. Let's talk about science now.
That's what I thought we were. Oh.
Okay, we're going to talk about science. I got some stories. I'm so glad you joined us, I think.
I was going to say, are you?
I'm not really sure anymore. Okay, my story. Let's go. Let's run with the science and do this show. Okay, we talk a lot about mosquito-borne diseases because there are lots of bacteria and also other pathogens that get sucked up into mosquitoes, live in mosquitoes, and then get passed on to us and cause disease. They're terrible vectors. We don't really like that. And so we're trying to figure out, okay, how can we maybe have a few less mosquitoes in the world? Or how can we make it so it's harder for mosquitoes to get disease into people, right? We're trying to figure out answers to these questions. Well, some researchers have been studying Wolbachia, and I've talked about Wolbachia on the show before. Wolbachia is a bacteria that lives inside various insects and has some fascinating adaptations for its own reproduction and how it influences its hosts. Now, one thing that Wolbachia do is they cause something that's called cytoplasmic incompatibility. And now what that means is that if Wolbachia has infected a female and it infects the eggs of the insect species, and then those eggs go on to produce either males or females, and those males or females are also infected by the Wolbachia bacteria. So males are infected by birth. They don't have the bacterium in their sperm. It's just in the eggs. But there are the cytoplasm of the germ cells has to be compatible. And so Wolbachia produce genes that basically make it so that if a female that's infected with Wolbachia mates with a male who is not, the offspring will be sterile. Cytoplasmic incompatibility makes sure that Wolbachia gets passed along and is super successful because it can only be passed on and into the next generation by a male and a female who are both infected, producing offspring. So both the male and the female have to be infected for the offspring to be viable. And then those offspring are also infected and go on to pass on the Wolbachia, right? So the interesting side of this is, okay, cytoplasmic incompatibility. What are these genes that are involved, and can we use them to make fewer males and females compatible? Can we use cytoplasmic incompatibility to create more sterile offspring of mosquitoes? And so people have been looking for these genes and trying to understand cytoplasmic incompatibility for a long time. And this last week, there were 2 papers published in Nature and Nature Microbiology that actually started to dig into the mechanism of how this incompatibility takes place. And they found 2 genes, CYF-A and CYF-B, and they've discovered that they are involved in this incompatibility, and they have to work together. If one is turned on, one gene's turned on and the other is not, it doesn't do anything. Their experiment is so fascinating. They basically they turned on these genes, expressed them transgenically in the testes of uninfected fruit flies. So basically they had fruit flies in the lab that had never been infected, but turned on the genes, the CYF-A and CYF-B, and basically recapitulated infection. So the fruit flies could not reproduce successfully male fruit flies could not reproduce successfully with infected females unless they had those genes turned on. So they basically simulated Wolbachia infection in the males just by turning on those 2 genes. And then they crossed transgenic males with Wolbachia-infected eggs and actually got normal offspring. So they've basically set up this whole system where they've got the genes, they're starting to get at the mechanism of how it works. There's another protein that's involved that's called SID-B, and it's what's called a D-ubiquitinase. And ubiquitin is something that's involved in sending proteins on a path to kind of get munched up by the cell, kind of cell protein recycling. And the D-ubiquitinase actually takes ubiquitin off of proteins, and this activity is essential for the incompatibility to take place as well. And so now they're very interested in how this could potentially be used down the road. Could we use something like CRISPR-Cas9 or to turn on a gene drive for these genes to be activated in mosquitoes, for instance, and to lead to or to deactivate them somehow in mosquitoes that are infected to produce incompatibility in wild populations and reduce possibility of the spread of Zika and other diseases that are spread by mosquitoes. That's what they're working on. And then there was another study published in Genetics, kind of along the same different lines, but along the lines of the gene drive aspect. And gene drive is this process where it's like if you turn on a gene, and normally genes, if you've got 2 chromosomes, a gene has kind of a 50% chance of being passed on to the next generation. But with gene drive, it artificially increases the chance of a gene getting passed along in the population up to like 90%. So it's almost assured that generations to come will have a particular gene. And so they're talking about putting killer genes or genes for sterility into mosquitoes and releasing them into the wild, right? And seeing how that'll work out. But this researchers at University of Kansas and at Cornell University published in Genetics their assessment of basically nature, because there's mutations that occur naturally, and there are lots of crossings and other things that happen over generations to change the probability of maybe gene drive happening. So what was once 90% in one generation, maybe it over time, just through natural selection, becomes less and less and less. And that's basically what their computer models suggested, is that there's really no way to cheat Mendelian inheritance, and that the way we understand genetics to work actually works. Nature would work to undo a lot of our genetic modifications, even with stuff like gene drive. And so even within, we could potentially put genes into species, and if we understand the dynamics of the population, maybe know, okay, this gene will become less in frequency within like 5 generations or 20 generations. And if we know how long it'll take for the gene drive to be reduced, maybe then it'll change the way we approach the situation. Yeah. So anyway, we got genes, mosquitoes. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. All I know so far is that all the experiments in Florida that involve genes for sterility and this gene drive genetic modification have been, they have not been okayed. And that people have basically said, nope, I don't want this in my community. No genetically modified mosquitoes in my backyard.
I mean, releasing a killer gene, what could go wrong?
But at the possibility of eliminating all mosquitoes, even if there's a downside, like it creates one genetic freak of a mosquito that, like, it's still worth the risk. I'd say we do it. I understand there's a food chain that relies on the mosquito, but it's the only living creature I actually have animosity towards.
Yeah, I was talking
We've
more
talked
the
about that, though.
sensationalism of horizontal gene transfer happening from somebody.
I'd risk that too.
And yeah, it's all silly. If you know the science, you know that all of that would be vetted well before it went
and
out
if you know
into
the history of science, you know that might not matter, because things happen.
Also a fair point.
And so my final intro story that I think is pretty cool is from last week, also published in Nature. Researcher Christoph Koch from the Allen Institute for Brain Science in Seattle, Washington. He and his team have published their really cool study tracing neurons in the mouse brain, and they developed this new methodology that's pretty cool, where they were able to trace all the branches of a neuron, because we know like a neuron isn't just one string. It has all sorts of branches, like a tree or like a root system even. And what they were able to do is inject individual neurons with a dye, and or I'm sorry, this is their new method was not using a dye. It was using a fluorescent protein. So they engineered lines of mice that if the mice were given a particular drug, it turned on neurons or genes in neurons in an area of the brain called the claustrum. And the area, this claustrum is an area of the brain that is really highly interconnected. It's this little, they're one on either hemisphere. The claustrum is this little tiny area on either side of your brain. And it's got connections from both hemispheres going across, and they're connected to all sorts of other areas in the brain. And so the claustrum, Christoph Koch and others have hypothesized that this might be the area of the brain that is the seat of consciousness, because it may put information together from different areas of the brain into a cohesive picture, right? That maybe this is the integrating, maybe it's the integrating area of the brain. So this is...
So if we find out that the claustrum is where your consciousness comes from, can we look for a similar structure in other species?
Exactly. That is... Yeah. So can we? So right now they are looking in mice because they can take mice and inject them, genetically engineer them and inject them with a drug, right? Can't really do that so easily with people. However, there are studies in people that have led to this hypothesis. But what they found in doing this new method, where they were able to slice the brain of these mice that had this particular green fluorescent protein activated in neurons, right? So it's very specifically just, they know that these genes are in only claustrum neurons and not in other neurons of the brain. So they know they're getting claustrum neurons. And they turned on this fluorescent protein and were able to trace them. And they found that these neurons are highly, as they thought, highly interconnected within the hemisphere. So to all areas of the cerebral cortex. But one neuron in particular, the head researcher said that it seemed as if it was almost a crown of thorns. It encircled the entire mouse brain. It went across both hemispheres. And so this is the kind of neuron that you would imagine could, synchronize brain activity, or at least put it together in a way that would allow it to be synchronized more easily. And the fact that they've seen it in a mouse brain is suggestive that this could be something we could see in other animals' brains. Yeah. But we don't have the link. Right now we've got some evidence in humans, we've got other evidence in mice and monkeys and other primates that the claustrum is this kind of interconnected, very interesting area. We have evidence that these neurons are very interconnected and go all over the place, but we don't have the actual, if we stimulate this neuron, this happens. We don't have it drilled down to actually see it affect consciousness. We don't have the step-by-step mechanism. We're still just beginning to dig, but this is...
And ultimately, when you use a word like consciousness...
Oh, yeah, it's loaded. It's a loaded term.
Such a loaded word, right? So,
Yeah.
So, I mean, at some point, is it like, where is the observer in any of this?
Right.
Where is
Well,
the one
like,
that is actually registering that these thoughts are, I mean, it's sort of like an audio system. Is the needle consciousness, or is it the record? No, it's the speaker. No, it's the ear of somebody listening. No, it's it's kind of a ridiculous thing
and
when
it's
you use that
also
word, because nobody can really tell you what it's supposed to mean.
Yeah, how do you define it? It's just like how we just found out animals were not responding to mirrors because they didn't understand mirrors. Duh. It's because we've been working in a system for humans. So when we talk about consciousness, we're thinking about our own consciousness.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question.
So even those little neurons that are off into the rural areas of the brain and aren't as highly connected are going to be as much a part of your consciousness as that really well connected one. Might not be as active, might not be having as, have as much assisting you in your cognitive abilities as much. Yeah, but it's still, it's part of the consciousness. Is like the whole thing. Like it always, right? Like if you lose your foot, you lost your foot, but you're still you. And then you lost your both legs and both arms, but you're still you, because those were just like mechanical parts. And then at some point, you could be a brain floating in a jar and going, hey, I'm floating in a jar. Like, it's still you all the way down until the last little bit of that neuron that I guess loses the ego.
Yeah, so we don't know, we would guess that there is not just one neuron that is the consciousness neuron, but maybe there is, a group of them, and maybe they do emanate from the colostrum. Yeah. We don't know this yet, but we have to we still have to decode all of the different neuron types that there are in the brain. We don't really understand how they all work together yet.
And I think consciousness is a perfect example of an emerging
phenomenon. Yeah. Emergent. Yes.
Emergent phenomenon. So it's not a thing. It's a group of things. It's a category of events taking place together. So.
Yeah. So yes, there's the philosophical side of it. And then there's the how, the mechanism. Can we find it? And that's what researchers are digging for. And in the meantime, there's going to be lots more of this 3D reconstructing of individual neurons, probably not in people, in other animals, probably like mice and primates. And they're really going to be looking to find out, what is going on? Where do the neurons of the colostrum go? What do they connect to, and how and why? The how and the why of consciousness. Another step on that adventure. Yeah. Justin, what'd you bring?
Speaking of how and why, how old is the Earth?
Oh.
When did life begin here? How did it first get started? Yeah, long time ago, says Blair. Very good. These are age-old questions. Actually, they're not really that old. We haven't really, as a planet, been thinking about this very long. Only very recently did we even start to attempt to answer them without our mythology. And now, one of our greatest clues, with wonderful implications for the prosperous potential of life existing elsewhere in the universe, is pushing the possibilities of how soon life can form on a rocky planet that is otherwise inhospitable. Remains of microorganisms, at least 3.77 billion years old, maybe as much as 4.3 billion years old, have been discovered by an international team of scientists, providing, therefore, this is the oldest evidence of life on the planet ever discovered. And we're talking, geologically, the numbers is around 4.5 billion years for the Earth.
Yeah.
This is possibly 4.3 billion years ago.
Man.
Fossils formed.
Yeah.
That's so we had a couple others. There was, I think it's three. Yeah, here it is. 3.46 billion years ago. There's microfossils in Western Australia. More recently, 3.7 billion year old in Western Greenland, which actually doesn't sound to be too far from this. The researchers systematically looked at ways tubes and filaments made of hematite, this is a form of iron oxide or rust, could have been made through non-biological methods. So they discovered this and then they went, okay, how could this not be life? What possible way could this be something other than a biological remnant?
Yeah.
And they found that they didn't have a very good likely way of doing it. Yeah, they have these hematite structures have the same characteristic branching of iron oxidizing bacteria that are found near hydrothermal vents today. So life then, life today, and that sort of stage and phase, not so very different. So yeah, they also found also in mineralized fossils associated with spheroidal structures that usually contain fossils of younger rocks. So that's also saying that the hematite most likely formed bacteria that oxidize iron for energy were themselves fossilized into the rock. But the really sort of, I think, interesting, I mean, it's interesting to find the earliest evidence of life on Earth, finding it near something in a scenario where hydrothermal vents were likely there, which is one of the main thrusts of the of how we think life might have started here on this planet. But it also says going out into the galaxy, we may have many, many more planets. It didn't take that long. We think, oh, life it's 4 billion year old planet, but if it only took 200 million years for life to show up. Also, what's really sort of fascinating about this, this is 4,000 million years ago. 4,000 million years ago, planet Earth was covered all the way around in water, and so was another planet in our neighborhood, Mars. So now, can we find examples of microorganism fossils on Mars? And where do we look? Now we got to find the oldest. We got to find 4 billion year old rocks on Mars and send a rover there to go digging, because that's the most likely place, right? So now there's a chance we might not have to worry about one of these far off, distant Earth-like rocky planets in the habitable zone. We might be able to find evidence of life on Mars if it didn't take that long to form. So, interesting study from a bunch of microfossils and some crystals in Canada. A lot of implications there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, stuff like this, I know that there's going to be a big debate about it because, I mean, what you're taught, it's a chemical signature, and it's a chance, and it's like they're putting together, they're trying to make, and the thing that's great about this study is they've taken as many views from different perspectives on the evidence as possible. So they're like, okay, it looks like very similar to what we have with hydrothermal vents. With this looks very similar to this other thing we know with stromatolites. This looks very similar. We've got the similar chemical signatures. So they're going around and collecting a big picture of data, but it's still that chemical evidence. And so the question is, is it just a chance accident that these chemicals, these molecules got laid down in this way? Or was this something that was life? Because one thing about this is this particular find is that it would have been maybe in undersea vents and then gotten taken into molten lava, been basically heated up again and then come out and been exposed again, right? I think I read that in one of the things.
I didn't read that in anything that I've got here. I didn't see any that it was turned molten. I mean, I don't think we would have, if this became molten, I don't know that we would have this evidence if it was,
because it was so, I know, because it was so long ago.
I mean, the truth of the matter is there's very few of these, like, if this was happening everywhere on the planet, most of those seafloors, most of those areas aren't somewhere on the surface under ice in Canada, right? They've been weathered, they've been exposed, they may have been pulled back in subduction zones or spread out and covered up and are deep underground now and inaccessible. The amazing thing is those oldest rock formations that are on the surface, that managed to stay on the surface of this planet, is where we found this in multiple locations in Greenland, in Canada, and Western Australia. That's it's a pretty good sign that this was, if it was just in one spot, but you're finding this sort of evidence across a planet, that's pretty good.
Yeah. So from an Ars Technica article, this is where I got it. The Scott Johnson writes that the Nuvagatuk rocks.
Yeah, I avoided saying that.
Yeah, Nuvagatic. I'm sorry, I cannot pronounce it correctly.
Nuvagatic supercrustal.
Yes, they were metamorphosed under high temperature and pressure about 2.7 billion years ago. So somewhere around half of their lifetime ago, they were metamorphosed under high temp and pressure. But within some jasper in the hydrothermal vent layers, the researchers found tiny tubes and filaments with hematite and iron oxide mineral. The size and shape of these structures was fairly consistent, especially considering the metamorphic torture they've endured, and some pairs of tubes were connected by small knobs. And so they say this is still consistent with bacteria found at hydrothermal vents today. So, I mean, it's just so fascinating to think of, what this evidence has endured. and what we're seeing now? I mean, I want to say yes, because this means that there was life in two places on our planet at basically the same time. That we basically had that. And like you said, maybe Mars too. Who knows if there was water there?
It's a bright time frame,
right?
you know?
So it sounds like 2 meteors brought life to the planet at the exact same time.
Well, or
Maybe
or,
not.
yeah, you know what, that totally makes sense. Like,
Or-
why not? A
Or
cluster of them.
yeah, or it's the basics. Once the basics of life are in place,
Yeah.
life just gets started. And the
Yeah.
process of evolution gets started. I mean, maybe it's just once everything is right in a place, and we're talking about an entire planet Earth, even early Earth as it was. If you have these vents in a couple of spots over the planet, why not?
Well,
I
and
mean, but
and
the
you think
same stuff
about
would have been
how,
floating all over.
you might say it's unlikely that everything would combine and happen in the exact right way, but if you have an entire ocean of this constant churning experiment taking place, it's not going to take long for it to happen.
Yep.
How great.
Yep. It's so great. I mean, I think it just thinking about Mars and our own solar system and the moon Titan, we think about the maybe the TRAPPIST system and all the other exoplanets out there, rocky exoplanets that we're finding. I mean, to me, it's, there's probably, if not complex life, there is microbial life, or at least there's little proto cells evolving all over this universe. And I find that an exciting idea.
And where they develop, whenever life first develops anywhere, it's the first life there.
Yep.
And one of the great things about being the first life form there, even if you're a teeny tiny little itsy bitsy microbe, you're the apex predator on the planet. It's there to eat you. So it makes sense too that it might go on for some time. If it goes on for some time, it's very likely to evolve, even a little bit here and there, and differentiate. There's most planets are going to have a little bit different ecosystem from one place to the other. One place you're eating iron, maybe somewhere else you're eating sulfurs. Like, it's just one of those things that seems like once it gets started, it'll be so natural for that thing to continue and continue and continue. So evolution, I think, has shown us that it's pretty easy for life to adapt to rough situations. We have all these extremophiles and all the different insanity that life is, so that
it depends on how you define
not be eaten
easy,
by that.
Justin.
Not
I think
so-
really what it is experimentation plus time
Yeah.
equals a
And yeah,
solution.
99% of species that have ever lived on the planet are extinct. So I mean, not
Yeah. So
but-
easy? Yeah,
let's-
I don't
let's-
know.
But let's move on to your next story. We're talking about evolution plus time.
Mhm. Do
Your
I have
next
another
story, I think your next story
Oh,
was
this is a little bit. This is welcome to the Anthropocene era.
Mm.
Or epoch. Sorry, I said era.
Epoch.
Epoch. Human industry, human ingenuity, and good old-fashioned human has done more to diversify and distribute minerals on Earth than any development since the rise of oxygen 2.2 billion years ago.
What?
In a paper published by American mineralogist, a team led by Robert Hazen at Carnegie Institution for Science identifies for the first time a group of 208 mineral species that originated either principally or exclusively due to human activities. That is almost a 4% increase over the roughly 5,200 minerals officially recognized in the International Mineralogical Association as being natural to the planet, right? Most of the recognized minerals attributed to human activities originated through mining, in ore dumps, through the weathering of slag formed in tunnel walls, mine water, timbers, or through mine fires. A lot of these were also talking about like uranium mines, also sort of interesting. 6 were found on the walls of smelters. 3 formed in geothermal piping systems. Some minerals formed due to human action can also occur naturally. 3 in that category were discovered on corroded lead artifacts aboard Tunisian shipwrecks, 2 on bronze artifacts in Egypt, and 2 in tin artifacts in Canada. 4 were discovered at a prehistoric sacrificial burning site in the Austrian mountains. What? And now we know that as many as 29 carbon-related minerals originated with human activities, of which 14 have no recorded natural occurrences.
Wow. We did that.
The mineral andersonite, for example, found in the tunnels of certain abandoned uranium mines in American Southwest. Places along the tunnel walls, sandstone becomes saturated with water that contains elements that form beautiful crust of yellow, orange, and green crystals. Prized for its bright green fluorescent glow under a black light, good sample of andersonite can fetch up as much as $500 from a collector. Oh, that's not actually that bad for something kind of that awesome. As long as it's not actively radioactive. I guess it wouldn't be. So they also sort of looked at, so that was sort of like the new things that we've added to the list. They also put it in terms of, let's see, according to the paper, the first great punctuation event in the history of Earth's mineral diversity occurred during the oxygen increase in the atmosphere 2 billion years ago. That gave rise to as many as 2/3 of the 5,200 minerals that we officially recognize. But within the last 250 years of human activity, we've added 208 more, which is like really like we're on a great pace, right? He says it's the difference between the blink of an eye and a month in the time it took us to do this.
No, I mean we're talking millions of years ago, billions of years ago for the oxygen event, right?
Yeah,
2 billion years ago versus 250.
Yeah, and that's why they're saying that the Anthropocene Epoch is a good title for this. Something also that's sort of interesting, they also looked at the diversity of minerals, how we spread them around the planet. And basically it said that glaciers got nothing on us. You know, in terms of, you know, you look at mining operations, also concrete is also one of those things that the Portland concrete is one of those sort of new elements, new minerals in existence. And it's like concrete all over the country, all over the world. It gets exported, it goes everywhere. You look at all the valuable gems, the things that we find valuable, diamonds and this sort of thing, you know, they're in every jewelry store, museum, and, you know, in people's homes across the Western countries. Like if somebody was to come back and try to figure out like, how do diamonds form? They seem to form in certain malls and certain stores. And like, I don't know how come they all form in these certain places. Like, it would be like really hard to figure out, like, where did anything come from? We've so sort of dispersed.
Right.
These minerals. So.
Right. Our mining operations have been so efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so much topsoil's been moved and all. I mean, it's pretty amazing, really, when you think about. Yeah. And here's this is Dr. Orgaleri. In the sediment layers left behind from our age, future mineralogists will find plentiful building materials such as bricks, cinder blocks, and cement, metal alloys such as steel, titanium, and aluminum, along with many lethal radioactive byproducts of the nuclear age. They might also marvel at some of the beautiful manufactured gemstones like cubic zirconia, moissanite, synthetic rubies, and many others, which I don't know if they'll be marveling, and I don't know who they are if we're all under layers of sediment. So the future research mice who escaped with the sentient gene, maybe coming back to see what were those humans up to.
Yeah, so the fake jewels in the knockoff Rolex will be around. Look at this fantastic substance that was created. Yeah. I mean, they'll be wondering about a lot of our plastic products too. So.
Oh, the plastic everywhere, which I think we're going to talk a little bit about some interesting uses for plastic.
Yes.
Things I never would have foreseen in 1950s Tupperware parties. And now it's time for Blair's Animal Corner.
poachers, crab and snow. Biped, millipede, notepad and all. Wanna hear about animals? She's your girl. Except for giant pandas and squirrels. Animal culture.
What you got, Blair?
Oh, I have a whole lot of buzz on the bees. So my first bee story for this evening is all about bees and an unexpected use of, that's right, plastic. So a recent study looking at leafcutter bees, Megachile as the group, they have extremely strong toothed mandibles that they use to cut off usually pieces of leaves, hence leaf cutter, right? Bring back to the nest, and they actually use it to make their nest. But we don't know a whole lot about leaf cutter bees and their nest making abilities, or their procedures, or how they do it, what they do it for. We don't know much yet. A new study looking at them found something unexpected. Researchers found a curious little piece of green plastic in a leafcutter nest. Continuing to look, they found more and more. They found actually 6 identical pieces of narrow, tough green plastic grouped together, and it was made like a cell that they would make out of normally pieces of leaves. So this appears to be intentional because the bees had been breaking apart these 10 millimeter long pieces and bringing them to this nest in a particular way. They were laid out just like a normal cell in their nest. And so they're not sure if they collected them intentionally or incidentally, but then they continued. And this is the first time they've seen plastics used in this way by a leafcutter bee in their nest. They think that it might be an ecologically adaptive trait to help them survive. And that's because they do know, one of the few things they do know about these leafcutter bee nests is that they normally use, from what they can tell, a mixture of resin from plants and sand in cavities when they have these nests above the ground, so that it actually, they think that it makes it waterproof and fends off parasites. So the idea is perhaps this plastic has those similar advantages as well.
Special plastic for fending off parasites and but antibacterial plastic.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? Let's just hope they're not ingesting any accidentally.
Right.
And then speaking of bees pushing around plastic, this is one of my favorite stories I've read in a long time. This is about bumblebees being trained to score goals using little plastic balls.
Go!
Queen Mary University of London trained bees to push little yellow plastic balls into holes in a maze. This study was done not just because it sounds adorable and awesome, but to see if these bees could learn new tasks that had no foundation in natural behavior. So they've done studies before that showed that bumblebees could solve a range of cognitive tasks, but all of those tasks usually were similar to or related to a bee's natural foraging routine, like pulling strings, and which I think I reported on that last year. So in this one, they actually wanted to explore the cognitive limits by giving them something that was very foreign in a lot of different ways. So the bee had to move a ball to a specified location to get a food reward. They were first trained to know the correct location of the ball on the platform, and then to obtain the reward, they had to move a displaced ball back to that location that they had learned was correct. So to a little bit of what it's like to experiment and train bees, the bees were trained under 3 conditions. Some observed a previously trained bee moving a far ball to a center spot to gain a reward. Others received a ghost demonstration where they used magnets underneath the platform to move the ball. And then the third group were given no demonstration. They just found the ball, and the ball was already at the center of the platform, and they got a reward. So that was kind of the primer, and then they had to learn how to do it themselves. The bees that learned from a live demonstrator from another bee, they learned the task quickly, but all of the bees seemed to learn how to do it. So this shows great cognitive flexibility for bees. It says in the article, especially for an insect. So the idea is that
There's a little mammal bias right there.
Sure, there's some mammal bias. There's also the fact that bees don't have a brain quite as complex as ours.
They have ganglia. They just have they have these little
ball
tiny
of
ball of
neuron
neurons.
ball. Yeah. So you would expect that they would not be as able to learn new skills, especially ones that have no evolutionary advantage to them. But they did it. Those bumblebees are smart.
They are smart. And one thing I would argue is that they are very social. And even though it was argued that this is a foreign task to them, the learning methodologies, the method they did best with was with a demonstrator.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're social animals that learn to watch that instinctively, it's in their makeup to watch other bees to find out what to do to go get food. So
Absolutely.
if they're watching a demonstrator move this ball and there's a food reward at the end, that's what they're learning. They're going to pay attention to that. So I'm going to argue that part of this was not really that far off from their natural abilities, but the different training modalities did test the question of what are they paying attention to and how do they learn?
Right. Yeah. And the other ones did learn it, but it took a lot longer.
Yeah. Impulsive learners. Yeah. Here's a new task. I don't really want. I don't. Wait. How'd you do that? Show me again.
Exactly.
Show me again.
Exactly.
One more time.
And then speaking of bee communication and being social, this is just the icing on the cake of the bee stories for this week. Bees, they make a ridiculously cute noise when they bump into each other. And the previous assumption was that these communications were used as a stop signal. So they were trying to indicate to other bees to not go the way they were going, to keep them from bumping into each other, or to communicate, or to stop communicating.
But that sound would have to happen before they bumped for that to make any sense, right?
Exactly. And so the new research shows that this sound is a whoopsie.
My bad.
It's like a huh. So they found that the noise, the noise actually most likely is a note of surprise. So the bees were not manipulated in any way. They just recorded them, and they found that it was just when they bumped into each other or when they bumped into inanimate objects. They'd go, whoops.
Yeah, it's like when we were in New York on the subway. I think somebody stepped on your foot and you were like, sorry. Like we were like California apologizing.
Yes, that's true.
Like the whole trip.
Yeah. So bees make whoopsie sounds. Whoops.
That's so cool. So what did we learn? Oh. So that recording there actually almost does sound like oops. Yeah. Oops.
Yes,
so what
they've actually they've coined it the whooping signal. But whoops, they also recorded it when they shook the hive. So it was just kind of like
a bunch of bees going whoops, whoops, whoops. You shake the hive and the bees are getting scared. Whoops, Whoops.
Oh, excuse me. Oh,
Excuse me. I bumped into another bee. I bumped into the wall. Whoops. Whoops. Oh,
So bees are compulsive learners. They're very apologetic, or at least have the wherewithal to admit a mistake. Oops.
So I think the next question actually
They
for
make
that
an auditory sound other than buzzing, though. I mean,
Yeah, that's pretty
I mean,
cool.
we know that the
Yeah.
frequency of the sound changes when they're doing their waggle dance, and there's different sound. But I think this is exciting that there is this communication.
So that's the question, I
Different
think,
signals.
is whether this is communication or if this is just an outtake of breath or something, you know, or if it's a functional cause or if it's a social cause. That's what I'd want to know. If it's a social cue, like an I'm sorry or excuse me, or if it's something that just happens to them biologically when they bump into each other.
Yeah.
Biological bee bumping. Whoops.
Whoops.
Oh.
Oh my goodness.
There we go.
Oh my goodness.
That's the buzz
That's
this week.
the buzz. I like it. I like it a lot. Anybody want to go to the moon?
How
I'm
long
already
do I have to
there.
go for?
I've been waiting for everybody for a while. And the babe was like, "Yeah, we're going to the moon." I'm like, "Okay, I'll meet you there." And I went on ahead, and nobody's shown up since.
Nobody
I'll go
showed
if it's
up.
for a weekend.
Well, it might be just a weekend, but Elon Musk has announced this last week that SpaceX is going to send 2 private citizens on a trip around the moon next year.
What?
He's got
That's
a goal. 2000 by the end of 2018 that there will be a private people going for a trip around the moon. Now, he has had deadlines and given dates for things before as kind of like the excitement and energy to get people in his company, I think, working harder. But whether they will actually hit a 2018 target is questionable. There is still a lot that needs to be tested to make sure they can do a manned mission. They haven't done anything with astronauts even yet, and the idea of sending private citizens before you've tested it with professionals is a bit questionable.
And we're still waiting for that $40,000, $30,000 Tesla that was supposed to be here 3 years ago. There's a little of that.
That's fairly on schedule. But would that include the training for these individuals? They're also supposed to be taken care of by next year?
There are people who have already put down a, quote, significant deposit, unquote, and they have started training already. They have already started, because they will be going to space, and this is not a low altitude or a low Earth orbit trip. This is actually to space, to the moon, Alice. This is people need to be trained as astronauts to be able to do it. So they have already started their
training. See, that's kind of, that gives some accountability to him. He's got to send those people up there.
Or they will begin starting their training this year. So it's their training they haven't actually started, but they've already put down a deposit and they will begin training this year.
I wonder what would it, like a pleasure cruise into space, what the training for that is. I'm sure it's not as intense as astronaut training, but it's still, you got to have a healthy heart and you got to be able to handle weightlessness, and you still have to be able to do some stuff.
And
mostly you got to be rich.
You have to be rich. Exactly.
That's like,
but they don't want rich people having a heart attack when they get up there. So
who cares? They got to pay in advance.
No, because this being the first 2 private citizens to go up in a SpaceX ship, it would be a PR disaster if somebody were to have a health issue up there. So they're going to vet these people and make sure that they're very healthy, as other private citizens have been vetted for previous trips, like to the International Space Station. I mean, private citizens have already paid to go to space. There is a process, at least where NASA is concerned. But this is the private space industry. This is new space. So this is the new space industry. We'll see where it goes.
Crazy.
It's very exciting. I mean, who knows? I mean, someday the price may come down to the reach of mere mortals. Blair, we've talked lots of times on the Animal Corner about the effects of tagging on wild animals.
Yes. Just last week we talked about it.
Yes. And so when I saw this study out of conservation biology, I thought that you would appreciate it. Researchers have found that radio transmitting tags have not a side effect that you would expect of, getting caught on things or affecting their interactions with other members of their species. But some tags can be accessed. The radio transmitting ones can be accessed by poachers and other people who don't necessarily have the animal's best interests at heart. Because they give off radio signals, people can access those signals to track animals like sharks, wolves, fish, elephants, any animal that has these tags on them. They can be tracked by anyone who can potentially hone in on those signals. And so the paper is saying, researchers, you got to be prepared for the fact that some of your animals are maybe going to disappear because you are leading hunters and fishers and poachers and nature tourists with cameras to them.
Well, I would say good thing we have that facial recognition technology, but that could fall into the wrong hands as well.
Yeah. But I thought we were talking about these unintended consequences of tagging, and this is such an interesting one that I had never thought of before, and it makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. What you got to do is you got to release a bunch of feral cats and put tags on those too.
That's right.
And then just a whole bunch of red herrings.
Squirrels. Yeah.
Squirrel.
And we'll
Squirrels
know,
everywhere.
we would know the tag numbers and the frequencies that are fake. But then, it'll throw them off the scent.
That's right. Add a lot of noise. Or as Fada is saying in the chat room, maybe better encryption.
That works too. Probably a less wasteful method. For sure.
I say we do decoys with bear traps.
Yeah, or just drones. Just throw a bunch of drones out there with collars on them.
Yeah. Or you have drones or just little radio controlled cars with cameras on them so that they take pictures of whoever the hunters and poachers are when they arrive.
Yes, that's perfect.
Then we catch them and put them in a bear trap.
Yeah, and then the bear trap. There we go. Blair, you had a story about frogs that was really cool. We'll do that.
Yeah. The long and short of it, it's really interesting, and I encourage everyone to go to TWIS.org to read the show notes and find out all about it. But frogs can see in color in the dark.
Huh?
Yeah. So in our eyeballs, we have cones and we have rods. Our cones help us see in color, and our rods help us see in low light, which for us is black and white or close to black and white. So our rods don't respond well to colors, particularly things like red go away right away. And so when we think about rods and cones, we think rods are black and white. No color receptors there. Not the case, turns out. I was doing a whole bunch of research on rods and cones today, not just for my own pleasure, but about this frog and toad article, because these frogs and toads have two different rod types with two different sensitivities to light. And this has not been found in any other vertebrates, but this is why researchers have long suspected that frogs and toads might be able to see in color in low light conditions. This study, they actually experimented on these frogs and toads to see if they could distinguish color in extreme darkness, and they can.
Wow.
They think that frogs and toads have full color vision all the way so dark that we actually can't even see.
So now what we need to do is get DARPA working on it so we can have color vision, night vision goggles.
Yeah.
Right? Find out how the frogs do it, and then let's have our own night vision that's color. And I want that.
Can I have
want
color
that.
vision, day vision goggles?
There, maybe we can give that to you too, Blair.
Yeah, that'll do the trick. I just need some CRISPR to give me some frog rods. That's how that works, right?
That's it. It's that easy.
Just some frog rods. Frog.
Yeah, can I just,
The
or maybe I
CRISPR
should just
eyedropper.
inject, I'll just inject some frog rods right into my eyeballs.
No, they got eye drops now. You can just drop
Oh,
the
okay.
suckers in.
All right, good.
It's like mixed in with the Visine.
Fixed it.
Super easy. Just some eye drops. It's all good.
Yeah.
It's
But just take a second and imagine what it would be like to see colors in the dark. I had a lot of trouble conceptualizing that.
Well, it's something.
It sounds
I mean,
like a cartoon or something.
yeah, well, I think when people think about color at night, they think, oh, I can see color at night, because when you go down a city street, there are neon signs, there are colored televisions, there are things that are lit with color, and those, because there's so much light coming from them, they do trigger our rods and our cones, and we get the color at night that we can see. But if it's dark, if you're in the forest, you are not telling the difference between green branches and brown dirt, or you're looking at shades of gray, basically.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I wonder too. I wonder if the colors that they're seeing bear any relation to the colors that they would see during the day, or if it's something else.
As far as I can tell, and this is something that I don't think they've confirmed, and also I didn't do hours of research on rods and cones today, but I did some. And what I found was that basically the way our rods work, they have a very narrow spectrum of colored light that they receive. But the way their rods most likely work is that there are these two different hills that overlap but are widespread. So my understanding is, because they're rods and they are the most sensitive to light, that in theory they would see everything. But we're not sure yet.
I love it.
And
More study needed.
What point is that? Not just nocturnal vision.
Yeah, they can see in the dark better than us. And then on top of that, they can see in color.
And in
yes,
color.
that's accurate. Yeah.
No, it would make sense. I mean, if you've ever gone to sleep by the edge of a lake and you hear those frogs croaking
all night
long, they're awake. They are awake. They want to catch those insects. They're awake.
I thought that was just
And
them
they're
freaking
looking
out
for
because it was
things.
dark. Why is it so dark? Why is it so dark? Somebody turn on the light. I can't see. Just too dark.
And I'll have plenty of frogs and frog rods at my opening of my new nightclub called Colostrum.
That's right. And we're saying frog rods, not
Frog rods.
frog raw.
Frog rod. It's going to be the #1 drink at my new nightclub called
Frog rod.
Colostrum.
That's right. Colostrum nightclub.
I'll have a round
Have
of
some
frog
frog
rods. Thanks, Colostrum. VIP.
And on that note, I think we have come to the end of another show. The nightclub of TWIS is going to sign out now, and it is the moment in which we would like to thank our Patreon sponsors. Thank you to Chris Clark, Paul Disney, G. Burton Lattimore, John Ratnaswamy, Richard Onus, Ryan Lee, E.O., Jared Lissette, Kevin Parachan, Andy Groh, Keith Corsell, Jake Jones, Gerald Shirelles, Lucis Adkins, Derek Nickel, Dave Friedel, James Randall, Eric Schwab, Bob Calder, Mark Mazzaros, Edward Dyer, Trainer 84, Brian Hedrick, Layla, Marshall Clark, Charlene Henry, Larry Garcia, Randy Mazuka, Tony Steele, Gerald Onagio, Steve DeBell, Ksenia Volkova, Daryl, Harun Sarang, Melissa Mosey, Alex Wilson, Jason Scheiderman, Greg Guthman, Dave Neighbor, Jason Nozier, Matthew Litwin, Eric Knapp, Jason Roberts, Richard Porter, Rodney, David Wiley, Robert Aston, Aurora Lee, Bill Curzier, Ben Rothick, Darwin Hannon, Rudy Garcia, Nick Abassi, Felix Alvarez, Cosmic Gypsy, Brian Hone, Orly Radio, Brian Condren, Marked, Nathan Greco, Hexator, Deborah Smith, Mitch Neves, Flying Out, John Crocker, Christopher Dreyer, Sylvan Westby, Artyom Shiwata, Dave Wilkinson, Steve Mishinsky, Rick Ramus, Harry Swinsberg, Phil Deneau, Braxton Howard, Salgood Sam, Matt Sutter, Emma Grenier, Philip Shane, James Dobson, Kurt Larson, Stefan Insham, Michael George, Russell Jensen, Mountain Slough, Jim Drapeau, John Maloney, Jason Olds, James Paul West, Alec Doty, Aluma Lama, Joe Wheeler, Dougal Campbell, Craig Porter, Adam Mishkan, Aaron Lothan, Marjorie, Paul Stanton, David Simmerly, Taylor Harrison, and Columbo Ahmed.
All right.
Thank you for all your support on Patreon. And if you are interested in supporting us, you can find more information at patreon.com/thisweekinscience, or you can just go to twis.org and click on the Patreon link. But remember, you can also help us out just by telling people about TWIS. And on next week's show, once again, we're going to be live online at 8 p.m. Pacific time on Wednesday on twis.org/live, where you can watch and join our chat room. But don't worry if you can't make it. You can find all of our past episodes at twis.org/YouTube or just twis.org. And don't forget March Mammal Madness.
I really have to find out what that is. I missed the first half, so I got to go back. I don't. Thank you, everybody, for enjoying the show. TWIS is, of course, available as a podcast. Just Google This Week in Science in your iTunes directory. Or if you have a mobile type device, you can look for TWIS, the number 4, Droid app in the Android marketplace. Or simply Google This Week in Science in anything Apple Marketplacey, and we will pop right up there. That's one of the options.
The Apple Marketplace, that's where I like to cast my pods. For more information on anything you've heard here today, show notes will be available at our website. That's at www.twis.org. There you can also make comments and start conversations with the hosts and other listeners too.
Yes, or you can contact us directly. Email Kirsten at thisweekinscience.com, Justin at twistminion@gmail.com, or Blair at blairbaz@twis.org. Just be sure to put TWIS, which is spelled TWIS, into the subject line, or your email will be spam filtered into oblivion. You can also hit us up on the Twitter, where we are at TWIScience, at Dr. Kiki, at JacksonFly, and at Blair's Menagerie. We love your feedback. If there's a topic you would like us to cover or address, a suggestion for an interview, a haiku that comes to you in the night, please let us know.
We will be back here next week on International Women's Day. And we hope you'll join us again for more great science news.
And if you've learned anything from the show, remember,
it's all in your head.
This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science, it's the end of the world. So I'm setting up shop, got my banner unfurled. It says the scientist is in, I'm gonna sell my advice. Show them how to stop the robots with a simple device. I'll reverse global warming with a wave of my hand. And all it'll cost you is a couple of grand. 'Cause this week's science is coming your way. So everybody listen to what I say. I use the scientific method for all that it's worth. And I'll broadcast my opinion all over the earth. 'Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 I've got one disclaimer and it shouldn't be news. That what I say may not represent your views, but I've done the calculations and I've got a plan. If you listen to the science, you may just better understand that we're not trying to threaten your philosophy. We're just trying to save the world from jeopardy. And this week in science is coming your way. So everybody listen to everything we say. And if you use our method instead of rolling a die, we may rid the world of toxoplasma gondii. Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 I've got a laundry list of items I want to address, from stopping global hunger to dredging Loch Ness. I'm trying to promote more rational thought, and I'll try to answer any question you've got. But how can I ever see the changes I seek when I can only set up shop 1 hour a week? This Week in Science is coming your way. You better just listen to what we say. And if you learned anything from the words that we've said, then please just remember it's all in your head. Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in 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 Science.
We have come to the end of another show, another couple of hours of science for you to go. We've come to the end, my beautiful friends. The end of a show. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la. Nerdhook. Tud in the Village restaurant in Nerdhook. Who's sharing this? Wiz Mike. What were you guys talking about? Toad in the Village restaurant. That looks like fun. Nerdhook. I want to go there. That sounds like fun. That's not here. That's in South Africa or something. No. Not near here. They have a wide range of convertibles, 4x4s, and luxury cars available for hire. In Nerdhook. You guys, the world's getting hot. I didn't want to talk about it on the show. But it's getting hot. It's getting hot in here. Let's melt up all the glaciers.
No, I don't wanna.
It's getting hot in here. Let's raise up all the sea levels. Raise the sea. Let's raise the sea. Oceans and me, let's raise the sea. Let's raise it to the roof and raise it to the roof and... Sorry. I'm making up songs. I don't know why. Making up all the songs all the day long. I spoke with Joanna from North Carolina, who invited us to the Entomological Society meeting, and she said that she said that she was going to put together a proposal and that she'd get back to us when she knew. So we should find out at some point. Oh. Mm-hmm. That's right, Sidenity. Don't worry about that global warming. That's just my mixtape. All that heat, that's just the science jams. What is wrong? Your face looks unhappy, Blair.
Oh, I'm just... Ignore me.
You look unhappy. You got unhappy face.
I'm fine. See?
Yes, Eric and AK, both of us, we were complaining about the cold of Portland this winter. And oh, let me find you. I'm gonna find you guys something. Weather. I love this weather dude at Fox News. He puts together the best. He puts together the best write-ups about things. So you know how it being cold in Portland, Oregon. You know, I moved to Portland. Why is it so cold? You want to know why? It's the coldest since 1978. It's the coldest in Portland this year in 38 years.
Wow.
And oh yes, by the way, even though spring has not yet sprung, meteorological winter has ended. Because meteorologists actually do a different decision of they start measuring winter in November as opposed to end of December or beginning of December instead of end of November, beginning of December instead of end of December. It's very cool stuff. Oh yeah. And the tournament, Ed's got the links for following the tournament. I got that in the show notes. Yep. Ooh, Ed has a good story for you, Blair, maybe for next week.
So much is happening on my computer right now. I can't even deal.
What's going on?
Just so many windows opened. I can't.
Why?
It's a long story.
You guys, have you ever had one of those? Can you hear me right now?
Yes, I can hear you.
You ever? I'm being nice and trying to be off screen to blow my nose, but like my nose is acting in such a way that I just want to stick a piece of Kleenex in there and just leave it.
That's how mine's acting right now.
Like
It's
I just
driving
want
me nuts.
I need a snot sponge. Just to absorb the moisture that is coming from my nose. Oh my gosh, 15 degrees Fahrenheit, Eric. Oh, I'm so glad I don't live where you live. I hope you like it there. Too cold for me. I think I would not be able to deal with that. But then again, I never thought I could live in Portland either, and I'm doing just fine here. I really like it. Hot Rod. Yes, 3 snows. Exactly. 3 snows already. It's not normal. 4 here in Portland. Yes, Gem Doctor also, right? Shakespeare, Mendelssohn, not just meteorologists. Oh, Twit Refugee, I hope it's allergies because I don't want to be getting a cold. My nose just started acting funny today and I don't know. But my house...
Oh.
I have a 5-year-old son he's going on 6-year-old birthday this weekend. We have 6-year-old birthday party coming.
You're having that Pokemon birthday party.
We are having a Pokemon birthday party. That's right. We have made approximately 75 ping pong Pokemon balls. And Twin Refugee 60 degrees. That's amazing. I love that. I hope it's allergies. It's just strange. That's just an odd thing. It might be allergies. I mean, the spring is coming. Fada. I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens.
I'm just now catching up to the show, and I'm looking at this March
hay
Mammal
fever,
Madness
Eric. Yeah, I need to get
bracket.
some allergy medication.
There's something called the screaming hairy armadillo. That's a thing.
Yeah.
And some of these seem a little unfair. The maned wolf versus the red squirrel. Like,
Squirrels are not to be trusted.
Never trust a squirrel. Mm-mm. One of the reasons Blair doesn't like them.
No, they're not trustworthy.
Oh, I'd put everything on Snow Leopard. Those things are just too awesome.
No, snow leopards are kitties. They're fluffy kitties.
The one at the Sac Zoo is constantly looking for a way to escape. And running up the walls and climbing the highest part of the enclosures and trying to leap its way through one of the tiny gaps in the ceiling netting. He's like actively like, I'm going to find one of these days. I'm going to find a way to get out. They need to fatten him up because I think he's been skipping meals on purpose to kind of skinny down to make it through. Or she, I'm not really sure.
Third ranked most depressing winter in the nation. Yes, go Oregon. Woohoo. But the meteorologists say winter's over.
Really?
Yeah. Winter's over here. The likelihood of getting another big freeze is very small. Take off your snow tires. Take the covers off your faucets outdoors. I need to check my faucets outdoors. I think everything's okay, but I hope I haven't noticed any broken pipes. I don't think.
So is there a place to actually fill out this bracket?
You do it. So you print it out and fill it out yourself, and then over the next few weeks, there's a schedule on the blog, and they're going to be announcing the winners of each battle on a schedule over the next 4 weeks.
That could go far, especially because it's up against moles and meat rats.
Which one? Which one do you think is going to go far?
Honey badger.
Yeah, honey badger. Any of the weasel family is going to do really well, but honestly, I think the fact that the rhesus macaque is in there, that's going to be a tough one to beat.
Wait, where's it? Oh, is it on that same side? Where is it?
It's in the wild card.
Oh, the wild card? No. Snow leopard is going to take down a rhesus macaque.
No, absolutely not.
All day long. Is this like fight to the death?
Tell me you know.
This is fight to the death, right?
Not to the death. No, this is
necessarily.
not necessarily to the death. No.
Oh, I shouldn't just be going to who has the best chance in a cage match. That's not how to look at this.
No, that's kind of what it is, but
okay.
But it's also going to be in there they said for the first round.
Hang on, Neanderthal hunting party versus a leopard.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That one.
I think the Neanderthal hunting party would get that.
Oh yeah, that could go really far.
Yeah.
Wait, there's a Pegasus. Wait, no.
There's a Pegasus.
There's a Pegasus.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's a winged horse.
Mm-hmm. I think the same thing. Leopard seal versus giant armadillo. Oh my God.
I know. Isn't it so fun?
That's crazy.
Oh, convention crud.
Dire wolf versus tiger. That's an age-old battle.
It is. So what wolf won last year?
The
some kind of
wolf. I don't know.
She said some kind of wolf won last year.
It was a type of wolf.
Yeah. Maned wolf?
No.
No.
It wasn't a maned wolf. Have you ever seen a maned wolf? They are weird looking. I love them.
Let's look at
it. They look like a weird amalgam creature. Like they look like a combination between like a coyote and a wolf
and a hyena
and a fox. And they stretched it.
There's a maned wolf. Look at that wolf. Yeah, it's kind of skinny. This is funny. There's one of the images: deer, fox, wolf. Nope. Somebody's right in line with your thinking. That is funny.
Exactly. That's a maned wolf. It's a weird, weird creature.
Not a deer, wolf, or fox. It's not really a wolf? What?
I actually don't know what it's related to. That's a good question.
Like
I looked it up the last time I saw one.
It's not really a... I don't want to look at this ad, you guys. Here, you guys don't have to look at this. Here, skip ad. There. I'm skipping the ad for Wix.
I'm trying to... Oh, God. Sometimes technology, I can't get in my Dropbox and it's driving me nuts.
Animal logic. Chrysocyon, genus Chrysocyon.
I usually just go to a cladogram.
Its closest relative is extinct by like 1 million years. Its
they're
closest
carnivora
living relative is the bush dog. That's what this
okay.
video is.
But they're canids, so they're in the dog family. Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Canidae. So dogs, wolves, foxes, jackals, dingoes. But they're not
Dingo ate
wolves.
my baby. They're not really wolves, no.
But they're not real wolves.
No.
But they're canid.
They're fake wolves.
Mm-hmm. They're so
wolves.
weird looking. Yeah. They look like a child drew a wolf wrong. Or like a young child drew a fox.
I like them. They're cute.
It's driving me bonkers.
Oh. It's fun to look at the things that there's a bunch of weird stuff on YouTube. What do they recommend after I watch this? The next video is called Hyenas Give Birth Through a Pseudopenis.
Oh yeah, I have heard female hyenas have a pseudopenis because they have high testosterone levels because they're dominant.
Yep. And so I guess you
hashtag fun fact.
But you would give birth through it?
Yeah. I mean, no, that's not right.
No, right? No.
That's not how biology works.
Right? I don't think that headline is correct.
No, I don't think so. I think that they're confusing a clitoris with a vagina. Sorry guys, those are different things.
You know, everybody, you gotta check your facts, people. Justin's like, I gotta just not comment on this.
See here, this little fella hanging up at the top? That's what you call clitoris.
That's right.
I don't know what that's from.
That was some thing that I watched. I think it was John Oliver's show or something recently.
Okay, well, wait. No, the clitoris of a hyena contains the birthing canal.
What?
Yep.
So,
what?
When
that seems odd.
Odd but true.
Yeah.
Odd but true.
Where's their urethra? I want to see anatomy. I'm looking for, I have to look for, I'm now looking up hyena anatomy on.
Oh, yeah, hyenas are the most bizarre creatures. They're weirder than the main fox for sure.
Yeah, hyenas are so strange. I think
they're more
really
like
cool.
cat than related. I think aren't
hyena,
they like more cat-ish?
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, the way they work together.
Look dog-like, but they're definitely have all sorts of weird feline attributes.
And they've got strange testosterone things.
And weird oozy stuff.
Yeah.
Weird oozy stuff.
Yeah.
Ooh.
They've got all sorts of extra scent gland things that they put goo on stuff with somehow. I don't know. This is from some memory of learning about hyenas and realizing that they're just really aren't from this planet.
They are from this planet. They're lovely creatures.
They're not lovely.
Nope.
They're not lovely.
Never want to be left alone with hyenas.
Someday I'd like to meet a
Scary
striped
animals.
hyena.
Why a striped hyena?
Because they're really cool.
Why?
So your average run-of-the-mill hyena is spotted, but there's this I think it's a subspecies of hyenas that are striped. I'm gonna have to look this up now.
I seriously am trying to figure out. I guess they have a urogenital system, but I don't get it.
Striped hyena.
Yeah, phylogenetically
hyena.
closer to felines
Mm-hmm.
and viverids, whatever viverids are. What's a viverid?
Good question. Viridae. Oh, bitterongs. It's a grab bag clade. I'm not convinced it's real. I feel like Viveridae, they're just like, this is a weird carnivore. Let's just throw it in there. Because there's civets, bitterongs, and gennets.
There's the bladder.
Jackal.
Where? Seriously, you guys, I'm like looking at pictures of. I've downloaded a PDF of the urogenital system of the spotted hyena. And I'm now looking at hyena anatomy. Look, we've got the bladder. What is this? Figure 5. Entire reproductive tract of the female spotted hyena.
What the heck?
Yeah,
How
so
does
we've
a
got
male impregnate a female then?
penis into penis.
Wow.
It would
You really
have
gotta
to,
go right down the pipe there, huh? You really gotta have good aim.
yeah. That would be you. Yes, that is how it would have to work. I'm guessing because that's the. I mean, there's the ovaries and the cervix, and we've got the vagina, and then this is the pseudopenis. The peniform clitoris is this long thing. Wow, what interesting anatomy!
The things
Fascinating.
you learn.
Fascinating. Twit refugees out of here. People are like, I gotta go now. What are you people looking at? I have to go. Okay. Section of this paper is titled Functional Considerations: Urination, Mating, Parturition, and Meeting Ceremonies. Fascinating.
Cool.
Anatomical obstacles do appear with regard to mating, as the male has to achieve entry through a small target, placed in a position that is considerably anterior to the normal location of an external vagina.
You know, you learn something new every day.
We did. This was exciting. Did everybody learn with us?
Oh, aardwolf.
Aardwolf. Is that in the list? Are you looking at
they're not. I don't think so. I didn't hear her say aardwolf, but they are related to hyenas.
Aha. Twit refugee got hit with a power outage. Whoa. 70 degrees where you are.
Looks like a hyena. Yeah.
What does?
The aardwolf totally looks like a hyena.
And then if you look at the striped hyena, they're real cool.
Ain't easy being a hyena playa. No, it ain't. No.
For so many reasons.
No.
Look at this one with his hackles up. Here, I'm going to screen share.
Screen share.
If it'll let me. Jeez. Okay, now you should be seeing what I'm seeing. Look at this guy. Look at him.
Ooh,
Isn't he cool? Look at this guy.
that is
They have
cool.
cuter faces, the striped hyenas. Look at his little
Yeah.
face. Look at that little face. Look at that face. It's a face.
Oh.
It's a face.
They're as mean as the spotted ones, though,
Look at
right?
this face. Yeah. Stay the heck away.
Don't let that face fool you.
They look so dog-like. It's so funny. Look at that. Screw you guys. That's a spotted hyena. There's a striped hyena. I think they sound different too, the striped versus the spotted. Look at this one.
It's actually very cute.
Look, striped, spotted, striped, spotted.
Yeah, the spotted have more of like
Spotted.
a flat snout.
Yeah. The striped look kind of more like dogs. I love the hackles though. That's my favorite part, is that the stripes get this like mohawk real hard. They're furrier. Like here's us. Oh, that's a striped. There's a spotted one. Oh no, he's not feeling good. Yeah. Any hoozle.
Any hoozle.
Look at the babies. Go.
I don't know if
Ooh.
I would get so excited about the hyenas.
Why?
Oh my gosh, my nose is gonna run off my face. I hope it's allergies. Dangle the tissue a little. Oh my god.
A woman
Running,
at a
running,
store I
running.
was at today told me she felt like a turkey, all stuffed up.
That's kind of where I'm at, yeah.
Yeah,
All
look at that
stuff
face.
up.
There's a face. It's like a pig dog.
Yeah, Ed, the face does look more like African wild dogs.
Oh yes, painted dogs.
Strengths. People who keep hyenas like pets are crazy. They're crazy people.
Look
They're
at
not-
this
they're not
terrifying toy.
Heck.
That's a
Looks like
striped
they-
hyena, apparently.
Why does it have those front teeth like a beaver?
Good. Oh,
like
that's his tongue. Duh.
green?
Yeah, it's green. Of course.
Of course.
What else should it be?
What was the book that I read? Paolo Bacigalupi. And it was about, the water knife. Great book. I think I must have talked about it when I read it. The water knife, there's a character who kind of is controlling like the gangs in Arizona, and he keeps hyenas. And there's a scary scene involving the hyenas in the book.
The Maasai don't bury their dead. They leave them out exposed for the hyenas to devour them.
Well, that's a place to go.
I think it's in, is it in Tibet? No, maybe it's in the Himalayas, somewhere very high up in mountains. People get burial by vulture.
Burial by vulture. Whoa.
Yeah, so they're put out on top of this mountain, and then the black vultures come and eat them until there is nothing left.
Yeah, that's, maybe better than being buried in a coffin in a hole in the ground,
No, I'm down with it. I think it's cool. I'm donating my body to science to train scientists or doctors. And then I don't care. That's my plan. I want to be a science teacher in death.
I'm leaving my body to a mad scientist in the hopes that they will reanimate me.
That's good. That's good. Well, my consciousness will be uploaded into a computer, so I'm not too worried.
Oh, right, because you're like 10 years younger than us. Rub it in.
Hey,
Rub it
I
in that
believe
you've got
we're
more
all
time.
going to live to be 200. So at that point, it doesn't matter.
I don't know. A decade makes a difference, Blair.
Not when you're 200. I'm
What
going to
was
live
the
to be
study?
200.
Yeah,
Then I'm
what
going to download my consciousness into a computer.
Yeah.
It's
So
gonna
did
be
you
great.
guys? This is an interesting question. Did you guys see the story this last? I guess it was this last week, maybe the week before, about you really aren't the same person that you were when you were younger. So that the brain you had and the personality that you had when you were like 17 is different than when you're 70.
No duh.
Right. No doubt. But like it's that opens up kind of an interesting, point of like, at what point do you download your consciousness? Like what brain, what level of brain development or personality development do you upload yourself? I'm going to say
So you
download.
do-
Well, I
upload
guess
yourself.
Right
somebody
away.
has to do the
First of all, it's right away.
research
No,
to
first of all, you
find out what
No.
age at
No.
which the drinking and hedonism catches up with you and starts destroying brain cells.
So right before
And
that.
right before that, because then you have learned the most and developed the most kind of personality before it starts degrading, right? You want to get the
No, no.
peak.
What you do is you download immediately whenever you get the opportunity.
Just
And then
constant
you do it
downloads, right?
again,
Multiple.
every other year.
Just back up.
Yeah. So no, not backups. You're not overwriting. Why overwrite? There's plenty of storage space, right?
What if
No,
you could have
but-
multiple views? So then you have like
Exactly. So
young you, middle-aged you.
Oh my God, that
I
means
think-
tomorrow guy
you.
would finally catch up with today guy.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then you can put them in a room and have them talk.
And then yesterday guy would be there like, oh, what? The both of you? Who cares? Yeah.
I thought this was a question of when you transfer your consciousness into the machine,
Well, yeah, exactly.
not when you download a copy. Control
why not?
C, Control V. It's
Why not?
more of a Control X, Control V situation.
No, you don't delete
Yeah.
the old. You just
Yeah.
create a new one, and then all of it.
That's not the expectation here. We don't what? That's not no.
Why not?
That's
Why
not
not?
how this works.
Why isn't it how this works?
When you
Why
talk
couldn't
about
it
the
be?
singularity, who is
Yeah.
talking about making multiple copied
Me.
versions of
Me.
your consciousness?
That's me. I'm gonna clone myself. I'll paste. Control paste. Control paste. Well, I'll get the Control C and then I'll just Control V it all over the place, and it'll be an army of me's working together as a team, although somewhat dysfunctionally. Yeah, just a whole bunch of me's running around working on the projects that we all care about. Fantastic. That's the real power in it. It's not like, okay, now there's me and I can go join this hive of humanity again and go through what? Now I got to work forever? Forget that. It's ridiculous. I'll create an entire nation of me's that all have the same goals and work on the same projects together. Yeah, now we're talking. Now I can get stuff done. I have multiplied my creative killing power.
Great. And then I will never be able to speak again.
Well, no. See, we would just be the Wednesday night show, TWIS crew. Thursday
I
night.
want multiples of myself.
Thursday night,
I think-
another crew would come in, do the Thursday night show. Then there'd be a Friday night show, TWIS crew. And the other us's could just be relaxing during this time or doing something. Right? Yeah. I'm telling you, this is the real future.
But then
Whoever
how do I
gets in
feed
there
those
fi-
other versions of myself?
Whoever gets in there first just creates multiple copies of
I hate everything about that. And I'm going to go to bed.
Wow, it's 10:30 already.
Yeah.
I do
Let's
need to
get
go
the
to
heck
bed.
out of here.
Yeah, go to bed. Maybe my nose will not be running tomorrow morning. Maybe I'll be able to sleep tonight. Maybe. I don't know, there's so many maybes in the world. We're going to have to wait until tomorrow to find out. Everybody who came and joined us tonight, thank you so much. I hope everyone joins in the March Mammal Madness. I mean, how fun is that? It's one of the best brackets out there. I'm gonna throw down and say that. One of the best brackets out there.
Okay, so are we doing this?
Yes, we're doing this. We're following along all month.
Okay.
I'm going to.
All right.
Well, I'm going to go
Nice
ahead and make my
bet.
bracket only with information I already have in my head. I'm not going to do any extra research.
I'm gonna do the same thing. I might look up to find out what
There's
some
a couple of them
animals
I don't even
are.
know what the heck they
Yeah.
are.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
there's a few I don't know what they are either, and I'm gonna go look that up. And it'll be fun. I'll do it with Kai, and it'll be fun to be like, what about this animal? And who do you think's gonna win? And so Kai and I will make our bets. It's
I'll
gonna
see
be
if I
fun.
can get the office in on it too.
You should.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows? That's right. All right, everybody. Monday night. What did you say? 7 p.m. Eastern time, which is 4 p.m. Pacific. We'll find out who wins the wild card battle.
It's totally the snow leopard, for sure.
Oh, you're so wrong. I can't even begin to explain the ways you're wrong.
And this is
So
why it's
totally
so
the
good already. It's already entertaining.
You're talking about a
Already
person
good.
that has worked with 3 different snow leopards this close.
So close. Well, not that close. More like that close.
There were bars, but
Yeah.
then yeah, like right here.
Mhm.
Stinky snow leopards. I'm gonna go to bed.
Much
because I don't
more
think I
frightening than
smell
a
anything.
peanut butter chocolate monkey.
Peanut butter chocolate monkey. I want to eat some peanut butter and chocolate. Maybe I'm gonna
No,
do that.
he's saying Reese's. No, that's not how it's spelled,
Reese's.
buddy.
Ha, ha, ha,
Also,
Ah.
look at a
ha,
Rhesus
ha.
macaque's fangs. Just look at him. Look at a Rhesus macaque yawn.
you just
Google Rhesus
look at 'em.
macaque yawn,
You just look at
and then we'll talk about it.
Look at them.
Also, they carry deadly zoonotic diseases.
Yeah, that's right. You never want to be bit by a macaque. Oh
Yeah.
gosh. Ugh, Infection City. Everyone, if you're around tomorrow night, Ed, are you doing the Science Island hangout? Science Island hangout Thursdays, right?
I think
so
they've been doing them on Sundays.
Oh, is it Sundays now? Okay. What do I know? But everyone go to scienceisland.org and figure it out. Hey, Brandon, thank you so much. Have a great night. Everyone out there, we will see you next week. Maybe we'll have another guest. Maybe we'll just talk science. I don't know because I have a hard time thinking that far ahead. I gotta make plans. Okay. I have a 6-year-old birthday party to deal with this weekend.
Yay!
All I'm
Oh,
dealing
fun.
with. It's gonna be so fun. Oh my goodness.
Pikachu! I summon you. Is that how that works? I choose you, Pikachu!
I choose
There we
you,
go.
yeah.
I did it.
I choose you, Pikachu. All right. Science Island
Pikachu.
Hangout is Sunday. Thank you, Ed. Science Island Hangout Sunday. Check that out. That looks like fun. Yeah, we're done here. Thank you for joining us. Good night, you guys. Good night, Blair. Good night, Justin.
Good night.
Good night, Kiki. Good night, Blair. Good night, Minions.
Good night.
Okay,
I'll see you soon.
Okay.
Sweet dreams, everyone.
Why are you being creepy? Good night.
Because I'm punch drunk. It's time for bed.
It is. Good night.